fire hose, evaluating a ton of different guys.
Yeah.
That first spring, like, what were the first things that jumped off about him as a person and as a player?
Yeah, I remember my first meeting with him when I first got to IU, and he jumped out as a guy who there was a lot more to him than just football. I know he has a really strong family, connection, very deep in his faith as well. So I just knew that he was a really good kid that I wanted to help along his journey. And then athletically, I mean, he really jumped out to me this first time I saw him work out. His explosiveness, his speed, his ability to track the football in the air. I knew that he was somebody who could be really special. And, he's just continued to work hard, and really happy with how he's played this year for the most part, like we've talked about. And, I thought last week against Alabama, I felt like he was back to himself after the injury in the Big Ten championship game. Yeah. I'm not sure why. I know maybe it had something to do with us just working together for so long. But yeah, we never really talked about that. But it's a collaboration throughout the week. I mean, a lot of times throughout the game, we've already discussed that on Monday or Tuesday or something like today to know what to go to in certain situations. And just us as a staff, we've always been on the same page and feel like that's something we've been very conscious of as we go into the games, ready to go.
From your perspective, does that free him up to sort of do other things?
I'm sure it does, but I know he's got a lot on his plate, that's for sure. So hopefully it would allow him to think about the defense or special teams or recruiting, something like that.
Like, rematches don't really happen in college football. How does your film strategy change when you're playing a team again?
Yeah, it hasn't changed a whole lot. Obviously, we went back and watched our game pretty closely just to see what their plan was against us the first time around. However, I feel like it could be a completely different change-up pitch from the first game. They've morphed a little bit. There's still some things that they've shown to continue to do since we played them. But that's just what makes it so much fun, the chess match within, and hopefully we're putting a scheme together that accounts for what we did in the first game, but also what they've shown throughout the rest of the year.
What's the balance of that? Like, I guess, like, do you ever worry like you're sort of second guessing something a little too much, that you're thinking too much about? They did this the first time. What if they tried this the second time? Like, do you almost focus more on yourself, I guess, in a game like this to get away from it?
Yeah, well, you're always focusing on yourself and what you need to do to have success and to put the players in the best position to be successful. Coaches, I know, especially for myself, I tend to overthink a lot throughout the week, and then usually pretty good gauge on how the game's going to go after that first series or two, and try to make the proper adjustments. But you're always trying to play the what if game without removing yourself from what you do well, and that's what I feel like we went back to even in the Alabama game and other games throughout the year. Focus on what our guys do well. Yeah, the run game is where it all starts for us. Number one, it gets everybody kind of in the flow of the game, especially the O-line. Allow those guys to kind of eat up front. And our running backs do a really good job, keeping the ball moving forward. They're really disciplined. They ran really hard in our last game, so we're going to need a big game out of them. And when you're able to run the football, it creates favorable situations, I guess you could say, for the receivers and the quarterback. And whenever you're able to establish the run, usually helps the quarterbacks in protection as well. Slows down the defensive line slightly.
How does it affect the passing game?
It really just creates one-on-ones, and some of that comes in the RPOs. With us, if a guy's playing 10 yards off, a lot of times we have something where we can take advantage of that. But also, whenever teams need to stop the run, usually you got to get an extra safety or add a corner into the box, and usually that creates matchups on the outside that we're able to take advantage of.
Charlie Becker has really kind of popped off the page in the last couple of games. Just what have you seen from his so far?
Yeah, he's taken an enormous step. Just happy for him because he always put the work in, even when he wasn't getting a ton of reps early on in the year. Always stayed ready. He was a guy that could play multiple positions. You saw last week he played in the slot quite a bit, along with playing on the outside. So his flexibility has been a real key for us as well. And then, really, as you saw the last really half of the year, his ability to stretch the field. And not only stretch it, but also make plays down the field has been huge for us in our explosiveness and just adding another layer that defenses need to account for.
How does that help everyone with the Omar Cooper Juniors and the Elijah Sarah?
Yeah, it's just one more weapon on offense that teams need to account for. It's hard to tilt coverage to somebody else. It's hard to, really stack the box in the run game. I like to think. We're fortunate we got a ton of weapons out there on offense, and just Fernando's done a really good job staying disciplined in his reads, getting the right guy the ball, and taking those shots down the field whenever we can, and giving our guys a chance to make some plays.
Coach talked about the offseason. The next challenge for him was the consistency, whether it was day-to-day practice, whether it was the way sort of he performed in games. You talk about all the physical tools he has, sort of the mental approach that he has, but how did he get to a place where maybe the consistency was where it needed to be, just in his habits and sort of his daily performance?
Yeah, I think some of that had to do with just him maturing, becoming older, becoming around, us and our expectations and the standards that Coach Signetti sets every single day on the practice field, and that's where it all starts for us. So he's bought into it. He very easily could have gone the other way, but he's bought into everything that we've asked him to do. And it's just a constant process with him, and just like a lot of other players, just every day being consistent, putting the work in, practicing the way you're going to play on game day. And I feel like he really took a step this year in that regard.
Last time you guys were in Eugene, Oregon's defense blitzed a ton. What are you hoping to do to counteract that pressure if they do bring it again?
Well, yeah, I think that's just who they are to a degree and what they like to do. It's going to be hard to balance it. I mean, we're going to have to be really good in our protections when we throw the ball. Obviously, running the football is going to help that as well. If as long as we have answers, if they a big pressure team, if they take away easy access throws, we're going to have to find other ways to move the ball consistently in the run game. But they're a good defense. They pose a lot of challenges, even when they're not pressuring. They have the ability to get to the quarterback with just a 4-man rush, and they do a nice job with the simulated pressures as well. And so everybody's just going to need to be on point with their pre-snap indicators, post-snap, playing fast and reacting. But they definitely keep you off balance, and I feel like that's why their defense is ranked so high.
Coach, you have one of the older teams in college football. How important is age and experience in recruiting?
In the recruiting part, I mean, it's I would say it's a factor. I mean, Coach Signetti always says, I'm sure you guys have heard it, production over potential. And with production usually comes a wealth of experience. So, we're very fortunate that we have a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. And the amount of snaps that accumulated throughout the year, even some high school guys or a guy like Charlie Becker, who is just a sophomore. By now he's a junior because of the amount of snaps that he's accumulated, and there's other guys throughout Damola, some other guys on offense that are in that situation as well.
Mike, Coach Shanahan has talked about with Brian, illusion defense. Can you have an illusion offense?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe we can. Playing plays off of plays, things that we've done throughout the year, building off of each other. And then, there's a lot of times where we try to make the same play look a lot of different ways to the defense. And I feel like that's what a lot of offenses try to accomplish. But, it's very easy in our system to change things up and keep it simple for our guys, but make it look differently to the defense and hopefully cause a miscommunication or a guy getting out of his gap, maybe a busted coverage, things like that we try to take advantage of.
How much do you watch film, like other games, and say, oh, that's a really big play, we're going to judge football? Do you do that a lot or not?
Well, that's definitely part of it. I mean, every week you assess what other teams have done in the defense and try to see what may fit that you don't have, or things that are very similar that you can kind of translate to the concepts or the run game or whatever it might be with your offense. But yeah, I mean that's part of the game planning process. Don't want to get into too many details, of course, but yeah, I mean we want to see what has affected teams throughout the year and how we can apply it if at all. Yeah.
Ask you a forward-looking question. With Alberto kind of being the backup this year and the amount of play he's gotten, what have you seen from him and how valuable of those reps? Obviously he's 2 years in your system, but to have those game reps specifically to put it on film, how is it valuable? Has it been for him and you to kind of evaluate it?
Yeah. No, I think it's been invaluable for him. I think the one thing that really jumped out to us was just his athleticism, his ability to use his legs to make plays. Saw it last week, but seen it in other games as well. And whenever we have asked him to throw the ball, I feel like he's made good decisions. There's only maybe one or two throughout the whole season that I'm sure he would like to have back. But for the most part, he really executed well when he's been in there. And it's been a good evaluation tool. But also, that's kind of what we expected out of him. He took a big step this year, just moving from his freshman year to now. Really has grown and matured.
When you have a guy that's 2 years in your system, and I know you can't talk about transfer quarterbacks or whatever, but like you're recruiting the portal and you got a guy that's been there for 2 years. How are those conversations like? Do you say like you get a chance to compete? I mean, because he sounds confident. I talked to him last week. Like, he wants it, right? But like, what are those conversations like when it's not just a guy that's been with you 1 year, but it's a guy that's kind of invested in your system?
No, I mean he's always been very confident. He's always put the work in. He's a winner. He won at the high school level, right? Those are all attributes that you love about him. I feel like just like every position though, and I'm not going to limit this just to the quarterback position, but we're always trying to upgrade, trying to create competition. Competition usually brings the best out of everybody. So that's always been Coach Signet's approach, and what we try to do at every position: bring the best guys we can into the program to help us win, and ultimately, bring the best out of each individual guy as well.
With Fernando, was last week kind of an example of his growth? Like at the start of the game, obviously get pressure early. Kind of at times early in the season, it took him a little bit to get back in rhythm, to get back in sync, but like. That didn't happen against Alabama. He's right back in it. Was that a sign of his kind of growth, that mentally he's kind of advanced kind of as you've gone with him throughout the season?
Yeah, I feel like that's been one of Fernando's best traits throughout the whole year is being able to take one play, whether it's good or bad, wipe it clean, come back to the next one, and completely kind of reset. After that first drive, they did some different things that they hadn't really shown on film, so we had to talk about it on the sideline. Have them see it for the first time, along with everybody else on the offense, get everybody on the same page. And then I was a little bit more conscious of it too, the aggressiveness that they came out with early in that drive, in the first drive. So, but I mean, Fernando's experience now, he's seen it all. And maybe it's a little tweak here or there, but he's able to adjust quickly. And, nothing has shaken him. And you guys know all the moments that I'm sure that I'm referring to throughout the year, the good and the bad. He's been able to wipe the slate clean and totally reset going on to the next drive.
With those game-winning drives, he had like 4 of them. Was there any one of those that was more in particular, like more impressive when you watched it on film, like when you look back on it, that stood out over the others?
Ooh, that's a really tough.
Like children, I don't know.
That
stood out above the others.
I mean, if I had to pick one, which they were all very unique in their own ways. If I had to pick one, I would just say the Penn State one, especially with how it started with the sack. A lot of teams, a lot of individual players may have kind of shut it down after that, but felt like not only him but the other guys on offense really rallied after he made that throw the very next play and really got the momentum going on our side.
Coach Pat was telling us that it feels like they've watched that Oregon film a million times this last week. What are the challenges in balancing, locking in on that first matchup and everything that happened in that game, and then everything that's happened since then?
Yeah, the challenge is like you always want to see. Okay, we play this team, and here's how they decided to play us. Right, we have evidence of it because that's something always going into a game you're not really quite sure of. However, and those guys are great coaches over there. Coach Lanning, Coach Lupoy. I mean, they do a great job every week trying to attack offenses and attack weaknesses that they see on film. And we, in kind of retrospect, that game was so long ago now. They've learned a lot more about their players, just like we have. And they're doing a little bit of different things. And we're doing some different things now too. So, I think that's the fine line that we're all trying to balance. Taking what the first game gave us, but also accounting for the changes and the natural things that happen throughout the season.
I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, it's more than just you and Tosh, but what's the chess match like when you go up against a defensive coordinator that you've already seen? Just how much more evolved does that chess match kind of get within the game?
I might have a better answer for you after the game. No, I know it's going to be a challenge. I mean, and I really don't think I mean, X's and O's, of course, are a part of this game, but whenever you turn on the film, from our perspective, I mean, those guys play hard. They run the ball. They're very well coached. They're very good technique, fundamentals. And that's just, to me, as important as X's and O's and what they call on defense. For our guys, right, we got to be great in those areas. We got to out-hustle them. We got to be better at the little things, because that's what I feel like really separates them from a lot of other teams that we've faced throughout the year.
Is it tough for you as a play caller to kind of not take too much stock in this is kind of what the things they called against us last time versus, it's just a new game here?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely won't. I have kind of those in the back of my head, but I know that, they're great coaches. They're not going to give us probably the same situations and same things, coverages, whatever it might be, exactly like it was in the first game, as you know. So, it's always kind of in the back of your mind, but not trying to get bogged down with it.
Just
Yeah.
what impressed you the most about that shutout over Texas Tech? What area of the defense impressed you?
Well, first of all, just it all starts up front with them. I believe their D-line, especially their starting 4 guys, are really special. Size-wise, speed. They play hard. They can get after the quarterback without adding that 5th or 6th rusher. And I feel like that was probably the biggest thing. I mean, they getting after the quarterback, and then also just their physicality that they play with. I could tell that they were playing with an edge. They looked hungry out there, and I thought it showed throughout the whole game. Yeah.
Fernando, so you talked about all the moments of Fernando this year. Back in that Oregon game, I mean, I know it's a while back, but the resilience he showed there, throwing the pick 6 and then coming right back, leading the touchdown drive that really, put the game, in your hands. Just how much does that moment, just, pick 6 to a turning around, leading to a game-winning touchdown drive, how much does that kind of encapsulate who Fernando is?
Yeah, I think that's him to a T. Obviously, that was a really tough play on the interception, but just his response, his kind of ability just to shake it off and really kind of relock back in. I know, or at least I've read online and stuff, that other guys on the team came up, patted him on the back and told him, "Yeah, we got confidence in you." And I think that was big for him too. Just going in that environment and understand that his teammates, regardless of what happens, have his back. But just his toughness in general. I mean, whether situations like that you're talking about, or taking a hit right in the chest as he's delivering a pass down the field, and being able to shake it off and get right back up the next play and act like it never happened. I mean, he's got some really unique qualities about him, and I feel like those are a little bit overlooked. Just his resiliency and his ability to compete every single play.
For you as a wide receivers coach, how has Charlie Becker emerged the way that he has?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise whenever Surratt missed a game or two there middle of the year, and Charlie got some more playing time because we had experienced guys playing in front of him, and he never complained. He just kept his head down, kept working, did well whenever he was in there throughout that point in the year, and then I forget which play maybe it was exactly, but we hit him on a post down the field. And then we hit on another one, and we said, okay, well, first of all, him and Fernando have a really good connection, and his size and speed combination is pretty unique. So whenever you're throwing a ball 35, 40 yards down the field, it makes it a little bit of an easier target to hit. And I feel like that's really gave us another dimension to our offense that has really helped us.
Were you seeing those sorts of traits in him all along, or did he kind of surprise you with the way some of the things that have allowed him to break out like this?
The biggest thing for him going into this year was just his ability to beat man-to-man coverage. Just as a young receiver last year and throughout camp and early in the season, he was still kind of finding, his go-to moves versus press and trying to get off the line of scrimmage. He's really worked on that with Coach Eddie and myself. And after practice, before practice, he's out there working on releases to help himself. And I feel like that was probably the biggest thing for him. Once he started doing that in the games, it gave him more confidence. And then he's been able to really take off after that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're big humans. Yeah, they're big, they're twitched up, great athletes, and they play with good technique. I mean, you don't see them do many undisciplined things, at least from what we can see on film. They're just do a really good job like launching off the ball. They get into your guards or centers quickly. They're able to get knocked back. So our inside three guys have a big challenge ahead of them: run game, pass game. But I feel like just their overall size, speed. They got long arms. They run on the ball still. They're in good shape for guys their size.
What similarities do you see between Oregon's offense and your offense?
Oregon's offense, yeah, they do a great job. Coach Stein, the OC, we've been watching him on film for a couple of years, and have taken some things and seeing them in crossover games. You're always just impressed with how fast their guys play. Their wealth of concepts mainly in the pass game. They do a really good job getting their playmakers the ball. I feel like that's one of the things that they do well, and allow their athletes to go play out in space and win those one-on-one matchups. So all while still being able to run the football effectively. So they've been really impressive every time we've seen them on crossover games throughout the year.
This is a hard left turn, but how long into working with Coach Signetti were you when you noticed that he's a semifinal?
I don't think I noticed that until we got here to IU last year. Yeah. No, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all creatures of habit. If I could, I probably would do the same thing. Yeah.
When the offensive line, specifically the right side, is rotated, how does that work? Does Bob Bostad come deliver you kind of a report? Here's what I'm thinking. How does that kind of process between you two work?
I'm sorry, what was the first part about?
The offensive line, it's rotated a little bit throughout the season on the right side.
Yeah.
So how's that conversation like with you and Coach Bostad?
Yeah, between us and Coach Signetti, we're just keeping an eye on those guys. They all have things that they're really good at. But understand also that if they're playing 75 plays a game or 65 plays a game, that's a lot of plays. And going against great defensive linemen like we've seen these last couple of weeks, there's something to having those guys being fresh in there, especially in the third quarter, fourth quarter. So it was a little bit of a plan in some games. Other games, we're just keeping an eye on it just to make sure guys are staying fresh and meeting the challenge that they have in front of them. But I feel like we'll see what happens this week. But they're all capable and ready to go.
So when you look at a guy like Ajani, what made you realize that as redshirt freshman he was ready to start a Rose Bowl game for you guys?
Yeah, he's been very consistent. He's been able to play multiple positions. Practice habits have played into that, and going into Ohio State, he played a decent amount of snaps, did well. Purdue, I believe he started at left guard that game and performed well as well. So whenever he's been in there, he's done well, and we've been rewarding him. And there's some good competition going there on the offensive line, which is great, just like any other position. Guys are really kind of bringing out the best in them.
Like coming off of last year, when you assessed the run game, where did you feel like you had to grow the most, and like what went into what's obviously transpired this year?
Yeah. Well, obviously, adding Pat Coogan and some of the other guys up front have helped. That was one piece of it. The other piece, I feel like, at times, just being able to create movement, playing on their side of the line of scrimmage. And now looking back, guys like Bray Lynch and Drew Evans and Carter, they're all a year older. They're all more confident. They're all stronger. And they've done a really good job. It's just things that we've done fundamentally since day one. And Coach Bostad and ourselves, I mean, we're always going to try to do what we do the best, stick to who we are, instead of maybe seeing what hurt that team that we're playing on film and major in that. But I don't think that there's not really a real sexy answer about it. I just feel like everybody's better, everybody's playing better, everybody's playing more confident. From my standpoint, I'm pretty. I try to be slow to abandon the run. I want to make sure we stick with it, even though if we're gaining 2-3 yards. Knowing that we have to do that to keep the quarterback clean and keep those guys going up front.
Adding as many new pieces to the line as you have, how it's come together, what's been your reaction to that? Because it is a new look group. So.
Yeah. I feel like those guys have had great chemistry since day one. And I'll just take a guy like Pat, for instance. He got here coming off the year that he had, didn't miss a single practice. Has been a leader to not only the offensive line but the offense and the team as a whole. And I feel like just they got really good camaraderie in there. Coach Bostad does a really good job getting those guys ready to play. And I feel like they're truly 5 guys working as one. They're all always in unison, always in on the same page, and good communication.
As you studied Oregon's defensive front in the last game, what stood out just about how they attacked, obviously, a line and an offense that had been performing at a really high level?
Yeah. I mean, they changed it up with some of their games inside and mixing that up with just straight launching, trying to get up the field, creating penetration, letting those guys kind of pin their ears back and go play ball. So they keep you kind of off balance with that. I would say the other thing is, I thought our O-line held up pretty well in protection. We gave up 1 sack. There was a few other times Fernando was pressured. I feel like the crowd noise played a factor in that as well at the times. But overall, I felt like we competed our butts off, and obviously there's some matchup things that we'll keep an eye on, just because they had so much talent across the board. But yeah, I mean, I feel like our guys were ready to go. Yeah.
They start pretty fresh in the secondary. At this point of the year, no one's really fresh.
Yeah.
We feel like we've seen their growth in that area since we were there.
I definitely see them playing with great technique, especially at corner. 7 and 4. Those guys are doing a really good job for them. I feel like they're really confident playing at the line of scrimmage. Whereas maybe early in the year they would open up and run with a receiver. They're staying square, trying to make receivers go sideways. They're doing a really good job with that. And then Flowers, the other one in the back end. I mean, that kid really flies around and it's physical. You could tell him and Thinneman are on the same page on the back end, and they do a good job. They do a good job when the ball's in the air. Quarterbacks looking one way, you can see everybody in that back end start rolling that way, and they fly to the ball and are able to make plays down the field. Yeah, a lot of good offenses, a lot of good players, really good coaches. So it's always good. It's good to watch other teams as we're leading up to play a game. And these guys are no different. You got a lot of respect for not only their defense, but what they've been able to do on offense as well.
It's kind of a unique challenge when you have the same defensive twice in one season. Have you done that?
Not that I remember. I take that back. My first job with Coach Signetti at IUP, we played Cal University over there in PA twice, once in the regular season and then again in the playoffs. So a little bit like that. I wouldn't say we've drawn on it. The biggest thing I feel like is obviously seeing what they did in the first game, what we did well in the first game, and then obviously taking into account how they've changed and how they've morphed since then. When you look back at it now, it was a long time ago in a lot of ways. So I feel like just from a personnel standpoint, things are a little bit different. Schematically, there's always change-ups week to week that you got to account for. Just kind of trying to stick to who we are and what we do well, and allow our players to go out there and play fast and just kind of cut it loose and let them have fun and go play. There's always ways to present new things. I feel like both offensively and defensively. So I don't see that being a huge challenge for us. But yeah, I mean, at this point in the year, I feel like what you've done and who you are is kind of already out there on the film, and we always try to make things look different to the defense and have plays build off of plays, but that's nothing earth shattering there. I just feel like we're trying to do what we do well and major in that for the most part.
Coach, is there any point in this season where you've realized maybe kind of throwing the game plan out late in the game and just letting Fernando be special? Has there ever been a point that you've kind of had that this season?
I'm trying to think. There's been times where he operates really well when we're in a 2-minute situation, whether that's at the end of the half. Last week was a good example of that, or at the end of the game in some of the games that we've been in up to this point. So not necessarily throwing out the game plan, but there's ways for us to change up, tempo that we play with, since we're pretty much huddling every single play now. But sometimes getting on the ball, let them get there, get the ball snapped, and go fast has been effective for us as well. But no, I feel like we've been able to stick to it, and he's been able to stick with it as well. And of course, we make some in-game adjustments at times, but for the most part, to answer your question, we stick with what we do.
In practice throughout the season, how much have you seen the offense and defense feed off of each other in competition to make your group better and what changes your group?
Yeah. I mean, that goes all the way back to spring ball for us. There's constant competition. Our guys really get after it, and they do it in a smart way to stay healthy. But I feel like that's been one of the best things about this team in general is just the competitive nature of a lot of the players that we have. The way they approach practice too, knowing that it's going to translate to how we play in the games. And it's been really fun. I mean, I said it last week, but Coach Haynes' defense is one of the hardest ones to go against in practice. And then you add great players over there like Fisher and Pons and Mari Farrell and all those D linemen that eat up front. It makes for some good battles.
Is there a
Guys, I'm sorry, guys. We got to shut it down right now. Time's up.
Yep.